red jacket off that. Thank you, Alejandra. And then there's a pair of tan pants. Yeah. Thank you. Okay. So why would you bind seams? This is why you would do it. Yeah. So this is the alternative to lining a jacket. And you don't want it to be, just the tan ones, please. Thanks. And you don't want it to be ugly inside with all those seams hanging out if you're not doing a lining. So you can bind the seams with bias tape. And that's what the binding foot does. And I'll show you that in a few minutes. So this is a jacket that I've really had for a very long time. But you can imagine it costs a lot more to do this kind of work on a garment than it does to just run it through a serger, right? Because now we use sergers and you would just see serged seams. But that's one case where you would want to do a bound seam, just to show you that, you know, they really do happen.
And you'd really only do it on something that's kind of heavyweight like that?
Yeah.
So that when you press it, it doesn't make edges, or
well,
it doesn't show as easily?
It doesn't show, but in this cotton, I think it's going to show to some degree because cotton's going to mark, right?
Mm-hmm.
But this has gone to the cleaners many times, and you don't really see an edge there if you can feel it, but I don't think it's that visible. And then my husband took his pants off the other day, and I go, wow, look at that. Okay, bound seams in the shorts. And I thought, well, that's interesting. I go, who made them? Because I thought, okay, Calvin Klein, no, and they're Nautica. And so I thought, well, that's really cool. So extra construction and quality construction, that's kind of what you're looking at. And so I thought, oh, that's really pretty neat to see bound seams in just a pair of shorts, men's shorts.
And they wouldn't do it on the sides?
Yeah,
or
they
the
didn't
crotch?
do it on the side. That was interesting, wasn't it? So if you're doing custom work, though, this is the kind of thing you do. And so you bind this edge with the seam binding, and you can see the one below wasn't bound. It was just this facing part was bound. And then the edge of the waistband. Now this is a great trick because then you don't have the seam allowance in there and have that extra thickness. And so you drop that seam allowance down and you bind it on this edge, and see how it's turned here? So that makes this seam much thinner than it would have been if this had been tucked up and stitched like you would do a normal
when you
seam.
fold it under and make sure it's the same
Right.
as the outside,
Right.
and this eliminates all that
It's so
problem.
much easier if you just drop this thing down.
Stitch in the ditch.
Mhm.
That one.
Yeah, it's a great technique. But it was interesting that they just serged the sides, but they did bind the seams down through the center.
And is
front,
that
center
back
back.
one together? Oh, there's
Yeah,
they're done
just
together.
together. Which my coat is the same. They're just together on the inside, so
Okay.
you don't press them open. And what you basically do is you bind it before you sew the garment together.
Whoa.
In some cases you can't.
Right.
So it's like when they did this little pocket, you know, they bound that pocket and then they sewed the pocket into the jacket.
Oh, I see.
Okay.
Okay, same thing here. You don't have to turn that facing under, you can just bind it.
But
So
the
instead
entire
of serging
Bound
it,
before you put it.
Yeah.
Okay.
the
and
entire
some-
back of that pocket is the dark binding, isn't it?
yeah. So there's accents on the collar. See, it's two color, and then the cuff it's the same kind of thing. So it was just, and that's what I kind of like to see you do. And we don't sew, and they don't make clothes that have real quality construction so much anymore. You know. But remember, I'm vintage, right? And so I've seen really amazing construction that you just don't see anymore. You don't see it in today's garments. It's just not something that happens. But you can still do it and create incredible clothes. And sometimes these are the answers to solving a problem, because maybe there's some kind of fabric that you have that for whatever reason, the detail, you you don't want to serge it, and you want to put a pretty finish on it, and there's some way to do it, and sometimes it's binding the seam. So when you run it through the binder, like this little tool, put this on, and I did this morning before I left the house. So what I'm telling you is you can take your fabric and you can bind it in some cute little print. So you're making your own bias binding here. So when you do that, Janelle just did this one for me, and you just cut yourself a little 15 by 16ths. Instead of 1 inch, it's got to be narrower. Okay, so that means, and the tricky part is getting it in the binder. And I do have, oh, the Xerox machine was broken, so I don't have. Okay. I have a sheet for you that has kind of this information on there. And how to put it in, how to feed them. No, because I just found it, and I haven't had a chance to put it on Blackboard. But Christine ran up to the Xerox machine, or the copy machine, for me, and the copy machine was broken. Okay, so this binder takes, can you hand me the yellow seam binding as well? Yeah, just, are you here for somebody to talk to? Oh, okay. Oh, you're welcome. Find a chair. You're going to get so tired just standing there, because, okay, you'll get real tired. You need to sit down. You can feed this through here, the double fold. I'm not going to do it right now because I'm going to show you how to do that one. So when you're doing your binding and it's unpressed, this is bias. You have to cut it bias, because in order to go on curves, you need bias. You can't use straight. And then if you're feeding this into your tube, you cut a diagonal like that, and then you feed this into that section. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And you push it down. And this is where it gets a little bit tricky. So you'll notice that I'm doing this before I put it on the machine. So don't put this on the machine and then try and do it, because that's not going to work. Then I get a needle. And I run that through here. So once you get it, now it's fed through the bottom. Okay. So pull a little bit out. Now this will do all of the work. So once you have it set, then you're ready to stick her on your machine.
What's that foot called?
Bias binder foot.